What's up, legends? It is Travis here with the Fit Dad Club podcast with Jason Barrett. How you doing today, Jace?
Doing really good. I got a fresh haircut, so I lost like 500 grams yesterday. Feeling good. The scale didn't move though, so that's actually, to me, that's a bit of a problem. So I've gained 500 grams in a day on a haircut.
Oh, mate. I tried to have a haircut yesterday and I rocked up for my appointment. And then I sat there for 25 minutes and they still hadn't got me done. I had an next appointment like 5 minutes later. And as soon as they called me up, I was like, guys, I've got to leave. So when you book in
Uh,
for something and they give you a time, I feel like they should be ready. Anyway, it means
yeah,
I'm
I
wearing a
mean,
hat today. I'm wearing a
it's
hat.
like
I'm
a
wearing a hat.
it's like a doctor's appointment. That's the worst thing. It
Yeah.
was like my wife said this. She's like, oh, they say if you don't show up at least 5 minutes before your appointment, then you'll cancel it and you have to pay a cancellation fee. But then she gets there and it's like they don't call it in for fucking half an hour. I'm like, that's ridiculous. But for anyone listening, you'll be a couple of days late, but it is actually TJ's birthday. So happy birthday to TJ.
Thanks, mate.
Committed, showing up for you guys on his day of birth. 39 years young now.
39, mate. 39, not 40 yet. So
Basically 40 in the eyes of the ads.
exactly. In the eyes of the ads on Facebook and Instagram and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
People think I'm 20, some people, and some people just want to abuse me. But we're
Fit Dad
here.
problems. You get mistaken for a 20-year-old bodybuilder on TRT if you do this program.
Exactly.
That's how anabolic it is.
Exactly, guys. So thanks, guys. Yep, it is my birthday, and we're showing up here today because we're talking about how to get a six-pack. Now, I want to preface this before we get started. If all of a sudden you listen, it's like, well, I don't want a six-pack. I want you to stop yourself and actually ask yourself a quality question. Why don't you want a six-pack, right? Or I don't want a six-pack because of what? Because it's too hard to get. Okay, well, listen to this podcast because we'll show you how it's actually not that hard to get. I don't want that because that's vain. Well, why is it vain? Because you have achieved a level of aesthetics with your health where you're lean enough for your abs to show. There's nothing wrong with it, guys. All it is, it means you're carrying a low enough body fat, which in reality, somewhere between 8 to 10% body fat will get you six-pack abs. There's a reason why essentially Men's Health, they're all having abs on the front cover of Men's Health. One, because they just look good. That's essentially you looking great and the best version of you in your health, somewhat, if we're looking at as far as fitness, strength, energy, all the rest of it. We're not talking about like 2% lean, veins coming up your abs, guys, or anything like that. For sure, it's not the best version of you because you're going to be tired, hungry, and probably annoying all the time. But just having some visible abs there, showing that you're lean, strong, and are dedicated to your health and fitness. I think, if anything, if you took off your shirt, people go, that guy looks after himself. That guy actually cares about his body. And it's an easy thing. And we don't do it for what other people think, for sure. But it is sometimes nice to have a couple of looks. We're human beings. We are human beings, guys. So we're going to tell you today on how to get a six-pack. Do you have any thoughts about this, Jace?
I think it's divisive for a lot of people. Like a lot of people think of having a six pack, as you said, is vanity, and they see it as, oh, it's pointless. Like, what's the point? It's not even, for a lot of people, they're thinking that like shredded all the way down, call them dick abs, right? All the way down where people wear their pants to the like base of their dick and their hips are showing. Even if you had a visible four pack, that's still better than 90% of people in terms of the level of body fat you're carrying and also the level of muscle mass that you need, because you can't just be super skinny and have defined abs. You've got to have a level of muscle mass to stretch the skin tight enough that it, reveals the muscle. This is in essence what creates the tone that a lot of people are looking for, right? And this is a quote that's been going around for me for the last couple of days with a lot of client stuff and a lot of just things that have been going through is it's not about the end result. That's not the point of a goal. The beauty of a goal, or I guess the point of a goal, is in who you become in the process of achieving it. So it's not about it's not about having the abs. It actually is fucking meaningless. It's about who you become in pursuit of the abs. For me, it was a goalpost that I never thought I would reach, and it's a goalpost that I think there's a lot of guys out there that they never think they'll ever be able to see that in their life. And for some guys, if you've got excess like skin and body fat, there's going to be a time where you might need to cut off some skin and get sort of that sort of skin tightening surgery, which is a relevant factor. But apart from those extreme cases, you can achieve it. And for me, it was this moment where I was like, fuck, I've got abs for the first time in my life. It actually was not that hard. It just took a grind. It took discipline. It took, we'll go through all the details of how you do it in the podcast. But then I was able to be proud of myself and say, yeah, you know what? I stuck it out, even though it was hard, and I achieved the thing that I thought I would never have. I wonder what else in my life I've been gating myself from achieving because I just think, oh, it's too hard or I'll never achieve that for some random bullshit reason that's not true.
Yeah, dude, it's very interesting. Like a couple of guys, or fair few of the guys I've coached, who are dads, they don't believe they can get abs because of time constraints, and obviously we'll cover that. And we covered that in a whole podcast the other week. About 15 minutes a day is all you need as far as when we're looking at minimal effective dose with training. But they all say, "I don't want abs." They'll say, "I don't want it," because the fact they don't believe they can get it. So if I say to someone, "Oh, would you like a $1 million?" Obviously, some people will start to say they don't want $1 million because of the tax implications. From there's going to be a percentage of people that say they don't want something based on their limiting beliefs.
Then all of my friends and family are going to want some money. I'm not going to deal with the hassle. The news crews will be
I don't want that. Yeah, it's too hard. So it depends on depends on where your limiting beliefs are. I don't want that because one, I don't want the perceived effort required to achieve that goal. That's what happens. So they say automatically, I don't want it because there's a lack of education there, or they don't want it because it's linked to, people with abs are just like up themselves and vain. And it's like, well, no, they are disciplined, consistent, and focused. So if you flip it on its head, are they just really consistent and disciplined people? Yeah, most probably. So those aspects carry over into other areas of their life. Would you see people with abs are higher in confidence? I would say a lot of people who have abs have pretty good confidence, right? And whether that's not saying you need abs for confidence, obviously confidence is just innate inside us. But when you're down the beach and like you take off your shirt or don't take off your shirt, there's a level of confidence that oozes when you're so comfortable and happy inside your body. And that does come with abs. Are you strong when your kids poke you in the belly, to have abs? And even my kids the other day, it's like as bad as it is, it's like they do see someone with not as bad as it is. I think it's just kids understand these days, right? Social media, all the rest of us, right? They see people who are overweight and they see people with abs. And they also equate health to abs, which isn't true, but this is what our kids do see at the start, and we educate them over time. So it's like, oh, dad has abs, dad's strong, dad's fit, dad looks after himself. So, and they see people who are overweight that they don't do that, right? So I think it's like it's a marker, one marker that you care for your body and is a priority in your life. If you lined up 10 people in a row and all took off their shirt, I can tell you who cares for their body and who doesn't. It's a simple visual test, right? And I think, just a outline of your abs means you're carrying a level of body fat. Like I said, 8 to 10, 10 to 12 will show you a bit of a 4-pack as far as body fat percentages. And you go, like, these people actually train. These people, they do eat some donuts, but they still also eat pretty healthy as well, right? They enjoy their life and they still train pretty well. And I think that this is what we want to talk about today. And also, I did a poll on my Facebook the other day. I had a bunch of comments, mostly actually from females.
It was the best engagement you ever had on it.
Yeah, it was huge. Because a couple of guys have said, my wife doesn't want me to get abs. And one of the girls said, she probably doesn't want you to get abs because she's afraid you'll leave her, which isn't the truth. Or you'll make her feel insecure because you're becoming healthy and she isn't, which could be closer to the truth.
That is 100% something that I think even a couple of my clients have said to me is when they've gone on programs like this, their wife or their partner has gotten insecure because it's happened before where they haven't changed, but it's like their partner's changed, and then they've decided to move on to do different things. And it's less about the abs and it's more about a misalignment of values, right? Because if you are getting with a partner and they are, they're, for example, they're overweight and they don't really care about their health that much, and you decide, yeah, I'm going to go on this health kick, and they're like, no, I'm good, you're cool, you still love them, still care about them, you go on this health kick, you start getting into it, you start getting into the gym, you start getting into healthy foods and prepping meals and that kind of stuff, and then over time that becomes more and more of who you are, and all of a sudden there's this misalignment where your partner it doesn't give a shit about that at all, doesn't care. And it's like, well, my health is actually a really big part of my life. I want to go for a walk with you. I want to go on a hike, but you're saying you want to stay in and order pizza and watch Netflix. It's like, it starts to become a fundamental misalignment of values. And so as a result, I'm not telling people to go out there and, get divorced if your wife hasn't got a 4-pack or a 6-pack or something. But yeah, if you are on this journey and your wife doesn't really care about it at all, it's like, it's time to have a heart-to-heart conversation. But look, my health is really important to me. This is why I'm doing this. I'm not doing this to, I'm not telling you have to do it or anything like that. But I'm just saying this is a very important thing to me at a fundamental level, and that it does evoke a deeper conversation around, well, if this is a value for you and it's not a value for her, how big of an issue is that going to be in your life? So, if it brings up shit, good, but you have to address the shit.
Yeah, because I think there has to be, if you're embarking and want to just sustain a true healthy lifestyle, and want to become the best version of you, then it doesn't mean your partner has to be a gym rat or anything like that. But they can't be, eating KFC every single night and just watching Netflix for their whole life, right? And also they don't even have to have like similar goals in the health regime, but they have to go, you know what, like I want to go for walks with you because I enjoy spending time with you, and it's time where we can be present together and essentially be in nature. They want to also be a role model for their kids. And I think it also, I've talked to my guys over the years that I've coached, and when they've had these issues with their partner, and it's like they feel like their partner's sabotaging them sometimes, or it starts to be a bit of a like a bit of a nag in the relationship. I was like, well, you have to actually explain why you want the result. And it's like we actually talked about at the start of the program, because if they're feeling self-conscious and they think you're trying to change your life and be healthy and, essentially get abs, so you're more attractive to other people, one, they're not secure in your relationship anyway, right? So you probably have to work on that. But two, you actually have to say, no, like, I just want to become the healthiest version of me because I want to be a role model for our kids, right? And I know if you're listening to this, you have kids. It's the Fit Dad Club podcast, right? It's not the No Dad podcast. So it's like, so you got kids, guys. So it means that we've got a partner, you have kids, and if you say, I'm doing this because I want to be a role model, and this is why, your partner's actually going to support you, because they're not going to say, I don't want you to be a healthy role model for our kids. They're just not going to do it, guys. So I think what you have to understand is why you're doing this, and then also communicate, because we actually have a lack of communication sometimes as parents or as partners. It's just how it is as human beings. So if we properly communicate why we're doing and on the pursuit of this journey, then we get supported better by our partner. So like there's that breakdown communication that stops that. But that's the why. And every single female bar, I think one female had like 100 comments there, said they would love, they started even getting detailed about what they'd love on their partner. Bicep veins and abs and like all the rest. Like,
a little bit too much.
Yeah, it started getting pretty crazy. But but like there was out of like 100 comments, out of the females, there was only one female who said they didn't want abs on their partner. So just so you know that Thor in Chris Hemsworth was cast correctly in Thor. They did want to put a guy with abs, and that's why the females did go and watch that movie. Like they like to look at a guy with abs. So if you have abs, your partner is probably want to have sex with you with the lights on more often. It's just the truth. Or you might even get lucky more often as well. I saw one of the guys the other day. He's like lost like 20 kilos. He's like, dude, like, you've changed our intimacy dramatically. It went from like once a fortnight to like 3 times a week with his partner being intimate.
That's not a reason to do it. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. And whether that's the fact that he's actually lost the weight or it's the person that he's become because he lost the weight. Again, like as Jay said, it's like, it's not losing the weight and getting the abs that's the actual thing. It's, I do what I say I'm going to do. I'm disciplined. I'm more present. Like we talk about meditation with him as well. So he's calmer. He's less sporadic with his meal choices. And because he understands delayed gratification, he's better in that. So it's like, there's all these, I was like, dude, because I was saying to him, I was like, it might not even be the abs, right? Because he's got abs now. I was like, might not even be the abs. It's just who you have become over your journey to get the abs maybe that's what she's actually more attracted to. But you wouldn't have become that person without the pursuit of the abs. So let's just say, hey, let's just keep them and stay focused and keep going forward. And I think it's interesting, right? Like, I think you hit the nail on the head earlier, Jace. It's not the abs that's the goal. It's who you become in the pursuit of abs that is actually the most attractive thing. Best people see the visual, right? If they aren't talking to you and they find that attractive. So for all you single dads out there, hey, trust me, if you're swiping right, they're swiping right or left, whichever they swipe on, and you got some abs, you probably get some more swipes. I've never been on one of those apps in my life, but
yeah, well, I mean, I'm a bit younger. I was back in the day. I didn't have abs back then though. There was no shirtless pics, so maybe why I kept it just from the neck up, you know. But I was going to say, what is it? Catfished them a little bit, but it's it is a really interesting thing, right? It's like when you. It is, for some people, they think it's vanity. For some people, that, you know, all of these different things. Like, I met my wife when I was at my most overweight. I was at like 105 kilos and probably like 35% body fat. And then over time ended up shredding that down to the point of abs. But it's like, yeah, it was all about who you become. It was all about the embodiment and the confidence and the commitment and the dedication and the energy that you have as well from losing the extra body fat. Like, you lose an extra 10, 20 kilos, you have more energy to be intimate. You have more energy to pay attention to your partner and do more things that are a bit more, a bit more intimate than just sitting on the couch or watching Netflix, right? And just tapping her on the shoulder and you want to? No?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for anyone out there, like, Jace was definitely batting above, and I think his pursuit was just to try and level out the playing field. So is mine, guys. I'm batting above as well. That's all right. It's something about us guys on this podcast.
I was batting far above, not only because my wife is amazing, but because I was in such a shit place. I think I was like 105 kilos overweight. I had a lower back injury, and I was earning like 45 grand a year. I was on like the lowest tax threshold I could be on, and yeah, no, it all turned around for me once I met my wife. A good woman will do that to you.
Or you were just a pity date that was super persistent and consistent. And then
that might be how she phrases it.
But at the same time, guys, what you can see from this podcast, consistency and persistent pays off in all aspects of your life. Wow. So, guys, moving on to the podcast now. How do we get abs? Well, now we've talked about Jace's relationship. So with this, I think the biggest thing, before we understand how to get abs, we have to understand the exact way how we don't achieve abs. So when we look at it, it's very clear, right? A lack of movement. Okay, so there's a lack of movement. There's a lack of caring about what you eat. There's a lack of consistency in training. So when we say movement, it's like steps and walking. There's a lack of consistency of training or no training whatsoever. There's a lack of sleep schedule. You just watch Netflix all night, go to sleep whenever you want. And I would say there's also a problem with doing what you said you're going to do. You press snooze all the time. You don't follow through with your word because you're just all over the shop. Then you have a lack of energy. So it's like, those are all the things you do if you don't want to achieve the result, right? So what do we need? So we know who we don't need to be, because it's very clear. It's black and white. I don't want to be that guy, because this person has a whole realm of problems. They're going to probably die early. They've probably got some lower confidence. They've probably got some back problems. They have like energy problems as well. They don't get to play with their kids as much. They want to, but they can't because they just can't find the energy to do it. So this is what they do, and this is the problems that person has. Now, we understand what we don't want. What we do want, well, we're going to go into it more specifics, but we understand we need to have a structured training program. We're going to talk about why we need structure in our training program. We need a consistent meal plan with consistent calories. And there's many ways to do this. I've had abs with cyclical ketogenic diets back in the day. With clean eating, I've had abs. I've had abs with carb cycling diets and carb backloading diets. I've had abs with paleo diet as well. So I've had like guys, I'm also willing. If you find a coach who's not willing to say they were wrong in the past, then you need to find a new coach. Like, I've tried everything. I think I've tried everything because I'm fortunate enough to have been in this industry for the last 2 decades. I've been in the industry for 20 years. So I've tried a lot of things. And now I know what the simplest approach is to get abs, because I've tried all the other approaches. So I understand that you can still get abs whilst having the foods you love And that means it's more sustainable to achieve them. Because in the past, I'd get abs and I'd lose the abs because I'm like, I can't do this anymore. This is too hard. And our approach we're going to talk about today is how it can be easy to get abs. And you don't have to do all these other diets that I've tried in the past. I've tried it all for you so you don't have to try them. And then we have to understand that we have to have our neat activity on point. So this is our steps and our other movement. And we want to have good nighttime and morning routines. I think those are the key aspects of achieving abs. Now it's more of a specific, and we did talk about this last week. It's more of a specific tailored program to you on how to get abs. The training doesn't have to be tailored, but the nutrition definitely does have to be tailored to get those abs. And you do have to have that little bit of lean muscle mass. So it's understanding that if you're skinny right now and you're just skinny fat, then you probably do need to lean out a little bit and then focus on a lean muscle gain and then diet again to actually look good as like an athletic physique. I'm going to say something controversial here now. It's something growing up that not I said, but I think someone I know said that abs on a skinny guy don't count, just like tits on a fat girl. So it's like, I think when you look at this, guys, it's like if you're skinny and you got abs, you do have to put just a little bit of lean muscle mass on, and it looks so much better because it does push your muscles tighter against the skin, and you just do have that, proper athletic physique. So first things first. What do you want to cover? Do you think the mindset of getting abs, Jace, or do you want to look at the calories first, or?
I think, the overarching principle and the thing that I guess got me there as someone who thought that I would never get them was the mindset. And it was the dedication to the end result, no matter what the process took. And that was it. It's like the process changed. The calories changed, the targets changed, the food changed, all that stuff. The training changed over, for me, it was a process of about like 2 years or so. All of that changed, but the mindset stayed consistent. The goal was purely get abs. Get to the point where I had visible six pack, and then I did a photo shoot, and it was awesome. And then I looked way too skinny, and I'm like, cool, I've got a bulk. And then I ended up getting abs again with TJ just before my wedding, and then kept them on my honeymoon, which was awesome. I just got married, and now I'm walking around on beaches with my shirt off. I was like, fuck, I should have done this when I was single, but I was like, nah, then I wouldn't have met my wife. But the mindset for me is the biggest one, just because. Number one, you have to believe that if you follow the plan, that it's possible, because it's mathematical. So if you take the emotional attachment or the emotional idea of the plan being an issue out of the equation and just say, cool, as long as I do, like for most people, it's about a coach. It's like for most people, I'll do what my coach says and I will get the result, right? You've got to have that faith in the process, in what your coach is giving you. And, if you've got a coach that's outside of us, or if you're coaching with us, obviously you know what we're talking about. But if it aligns, then awesome. But if your coach is like, oh, you've got to, drink 700 liters of water a day, and then make sure you only eat fruits and vegetables, and then on this day we eat this much meat, and it's like gets overcomplicated. It's unnecessary. But the mindset's got to be, it's like, you've got that goal set, and you're going to achieve it. The pivot, you might have to pivot. You might have to take breaks. You might have to, stop for a little bit, maintain, go up, go down. But the mindset is always going to be, I'm moving towards this goal. And then you just grind in and focus in on the process. And you've got to be aware of the goal being abs, but also the goal being, showing my kids that I can achieve the things that I say that I'm going to achieve, that I'm dedicated, that I'm committed. These are the traits and the qualities that I'm going to display for them, not because, oh, I've got 6 little lumps on my stomach that now stick out, right? You can have a fucking hernia and it's not going to, that's not cool. Like, they don't care about that. They don't care about the lumps, but it's about the dedication. It's about the transformation. Yeah. It's about saying, this is who I am. This is who I am becoming. This is what I'm going to do, regardless of the noise.
I think it's a cool thing. It depends on what age your kids are, that you tell them, hey, I'm embarking on this journey to achieve this. And they understand that they can see what discipline is. They can understand what dedication is. They can understand also what sacrifice is. So then, because achieving any journey is the same. If you want them to be good at school, discipline, consistency, sacrifice, right? So you're teaching them, kids do what we do, not what we say. Oh, you can't go out with your friends because, you need to study. Or like you need to study every night, or whatever it is you're trying to help them understand. And then you say, I'm going to get a goal. And then you start sinking piss and you never get the goal. It's like, well, why should I try and sacrifice what I need to do? Dad never sacrificed and achieves his goals. So I think it's saying setting a benchmark and telling your kids, and one, that's a massive amount of accountability that you're going to put on the line. So it's like, shit, I got to show up because I'm going to follow through for these guys because they're watching my every single move. And just showing them that it's possible to completely change your health, because then they understand what's possible. Because if they've grown up and they're a bit overweight when they're growing up, they have this mindset, oh, I'm big boned. And this is the people we coach now say, I'm overweight because my parents were overweight. So if you're overweight right now, your kids are growing up and they're going to say, I'm overweight because my parents are overweight. And that's probably a big excuse people use. So please don't give your kids more excuses on why they should be overweight and why they should be unhealthy. Because this is a big thing, right? We say this all the time. You said you die for your kids. You jump in front of a car, then start living for your kids so they actually live their life to their potential as well. I do think, though, like you hit it there, Jace. It's like state, story, and strategy. Tony Robbins talks about it. It's like, if I maintain a really great state, so high energy, great attitude, then I can maintain a positive story. It's like, I am going to get abs. I haven't got abs in the past, okay, but every single person on this planet can get abs, bar like a couple of % of people probably.
You have them. They're there. They're
Everyone has.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're just covered. Yeah. Exactly. You're just covered with a couple of layers of fat or a couple of extra layers of fat, depending on who you are. So with that, everyone has abs, okay? Everyone can achieve a level of aesthetic, okay, where they can be somewhat visible. Okay, I've seen people lose 100 kilos and have abs, right? So they were there for them, and then they're underneath there. They just had to drop the fat. So they're there. So you have to maintain a story. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get these abs, right? As far as I'll keep moving through strategy. So how are we going to get there? So that's what we're going to talk about next. But it's like these stories you tell yourself. It's like, I can't do this. I can never follow a diet. I can never do this. I can't get abs. What's the point? So we tell ourselves these negative stories, and the negative stories normally fulfill into a poor execution of the strategy. So the strategy might have been correct, but you sabotaged yourself or catastrophized a situation to not actually execute the strategy correctly. So you need to work on the internal dialogue saying, hey, I am actually unstoppable. When I put my mind to something, I can achieve anything. It's been shown that as human beings, we can be focused, and I'm a human being, so that means I can too, right? So it's common humanity. You are one of all those people with similar constraints, just like you, and they've achieved this result. That means I can too. So it's reframing the stories, right? Don't be the negative. Maintain that state. And then once we get our mind right, it's like, okay, mindset and accountability. I think those are the two key things. And I think that overarch strategy at the end of the day, right? So like strategy can be a great strategy, and you can do a piss poor strategy and still get abs. It's just going to sacrifice harder. So that's when some people say, I don't want to get abs, because maybe they've done a poor strategy in the past. And it was really hard to get them. And they felt like it was too much sacrifice. So they don't want abs again because they don't understand how it can be easy. So it's like, if you understand mindset, state, and accountability wrapped in with a good strategy, means you can get abs. So I think that's the overarching principles. Now, to get the abs, the starting point, I don't care if you're 20 kilos overweight or 30 kilos overweight or 3 kilos overweight. We need to create a calorie deficit. And that is the number one strategy for achieving fat loss. And also we need to, achieving weight loss. We need to clarify, if we're on the pursuit and the goal of attainment to get abs, we don't want weight loss, we want fat loss. So we can't just have a calorie deficit. We need to have a calorie deficit times by correct protein intake, times by adequate strength training, times by adequate daily steps, over times consistency equals abs. There's a formula for you. Mathematical. You do those. And based on the equation, 3 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 is just how long it's going to take you to get there, right? So I think for us, like, the calorie deficit matters most. So Jace, do you want to take it from there?
Yeah, this is we've talked about this before in a lot of length when it comes to the maths behind it. And if you're in a 3,500 calorie a week deficit, you're going to lose about 500 grams, right? So looking at the diet side of things, we want to include protein, right? Essentially, for most people, the more protein, the better. But anywhere between 1.5 and 2 grams per kilo of weight, when you are excessively overweight, let's say you're in sort of somewhere between like 120 and 140, when you're getting up above 100, then, you can safely go for 1.5. Usually for most guys, that'll be anywhere between 150 and 200 grams of protein a day. So that's like a rough idea of how much protein you should be having. Obviously it's going to be different based on who you are to maintain a good amount of muscle mass. Right. So as long as we have that in there, we're golden. The rest of it comes from the calorie deficit, comes from the steps, comes from eating less calories than you burn. So if we're looking to lose like 500 grams of fat a week, or anywhere between 0.5 and 1% of body fat, of body weight loss a week, right? Obviously, we can only track by weight. There's nothing that's sophisticated enough where we can track body fat loss on a week by week basis. It's just a little bit too granular, and technology is not quite there yet. So don't believe your scales that send electric shocks up through your feet. Oh, I lost 5% body fat this week. No, you fucking didn't. You took a big poo.
Exactly.
That's all it is. So we create that deficit with a good amount of steps, right? Somewhere between 8 and 10,000 steps a day is a really good starting point for most people. And then by eating less than we burn. So for most people, that's looking at what your total daily energy expenditure is. There's websites that calculate that for you. What is it? It's like, is it like 16 times body weight, or is it 18?
No, when we look at it, it's essentially it's about 22 times body weight in kilos.
Oh, yeah,
so we'll give what, yeah. So it's like when we're looking at it, it's like 13 to 16 in pounds. Yep. But for all those
Australians,
people
in the US,
yeah. But for everyone else, it's like if we're looking on the calorie deficit, about 23 times body weight in kilos. So if you're 100 kilos and you want to lose weight, start with 2,300 calories a day. And that's going to give you the baseline. Okay. So you start tracking that. And if you're super sedentary, you might have to go like a 21 or 20 times body weight in kilos. Because again, this is just an estimate, guys. It isn't your metabolism with your past dieting history, with your muscle mass. This is literally estimation of calories to give you a ballpark figure to start on. So body weight in kilos times 23, you start eating that every single day. What you have to look at the first week, if you're following a diet, you're going to have probably a bigger loss, right? And it doesn't matter even if you're eating carbs or not, you're going to have a bigger loss because you just stopped eating a load of shit, right? So your sodium, you're not holding onto as much fluid because of the sodium that you had it, or, anything. Really, probably your carbs did drop as well. So
you also physically just don't have as much food in your stomach.
Yeah, exactly. So if what we have to look at is the first week, whatever that weight loss is, it is. But that second week of tracking that 23, if you didn't lose weight, then your calories do high. We have to drop the calories by 5%. So 2,300 times 5% gives you a new 95%. So you take, about 180 calories, 150 calories, something like that off that. And then that's your new calories for the next 7 days. But if you lost 3 kilos, happy days. Keep the 2,300 calories a day for the next week. Our ballpark figure wants to be about 1% of total body weight loss per week. So if you're 100 kilos, you want to lose a kilo over the next week. If you did, it will fluctuate, right? So we do our Whaley day-ins every single day. Daily weigh-ins. We have to do it. Now, Whaley-ins.
Whaley day-ins. I love it.
We want to do a Whaley day-in and a daily weigh-in.
Yeah, do both either and way, even better.
Exactly. Find a whale, chuck it on the scale, and then you jump on it the next day and you're going to lose weight. So when we look at this, we want to do a daily weigh-in, guys, and that will give you 7 days of your weight. And then we divide it by 7 and we'll give you a weekly average. If that weekly average is decreasing correctly, then we're like, okay, cool. This 2,300 calories is on the mark for me. So that's how we work out our calories. Very simple. Jace told you before, 1.5 to 2 grams per kilo in body weight for our protein. So if we're looking at it, I'm 100 kilos again, I want to be eating about 150 grams to 200 grams of protein. That doesn't mean you're weighing 150 grams of chicken breast and that's your daily protein intake. It's not the actual, that's the physical weight, right? We want to look at 150 grams of actual protein that you're taking in. So that would be, essentially about 300 grams of chicken, a scoop of protein powder, 4 egg whites, and like, let's say, hey, your egg yolk for your omelet, and maybe 200 grams of a high protein yogurt, right? Yeah. So that will be about 150 grams. That sounds, and you just then around that, you're adding your carbohydrates and your fats to make those meals actually taste good rather than weird. So don't do what I just said and put it all in one meal, because that will taste very weird. So
I reckon you can make it work as long as you got like a neutral flavored protein powder. If you put chocolate in there, you're fucked.
You're done. You're done. If you have a neutral one, then you're probably making everyone's TikTok favorite chicken pasta or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
You got yogurt, you got protein powder probably mixed in there. Yeah, add
Easy.
some veg, and you're good.
Pasta without the pasta. Oh my god,
Exactly.
the pastaless pasta.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, we created something. So we want to have that sort of protein content. Protein's king. One, the reason is because of the amino acids. We want to try and get our protein in. It helps lean muscle gain. It helps increase our satiety, so it keeps us fuller for longer. So it helps us stop losing muscle mass whilst in a calorie deficit. So we're holding on to that lean muscle mass, or at least minimize muscle loss. Depends on the aggressiveness of the calorie deficit. So the other two macronutrients don't worry, three, but other two main macronutrients don't worry as much when we're looking at fats and carbohydrates. Yes, fats for hormones, carbohydrates for our energy levels inside the gym, but they don't play as big of important in fat loss as protein when we're looking at trying to keep that lean muscle mass. We're about minimum 20% of our calories inside as our fats, okay? And then the rest can be carbohydrates, right? But a minimum about 20% just for our hormone health, making sure your testosterone, all the rest of it's working okay. Yeah. And that's your macro breakdown. Okay. And you can put this into your MyFitnessPal, your chronometer, or for us, we use Keystone with our guys, and we do all this for them so they don't have to try and become mathematicians. And they get started tracking their calories. And here's a starting point, as we said, we do our daily weigh-ins, and we've created a calorie deficit. Now, you can create a bigger calorie deficit by increasing your steps. You do our weight training. The easiest thing for us to do is actually increase our steps. But that's the biggest thing as far as our nutrition. We're going to talk about breaking plateaus in a second, but we need to get the base level covered. And that's our base level as far as doing our nutrition to create a calorie deficit to put you on the path for getting abs.
Yeah, once you have the calorie deficit in place and you're doing a bit of a walk, you're doing the movement, that sort of that neat activity, right? You're just going for walks. You're not intentionally sitting there on the treadmill trying to do cardio, right? That'll come under sort of the breaking plateau side of things if you need to add that stuff in. But you're being generally active, and through the calorie tracking and the weighing yourself, you're going to figure out what your daily expenditure is, right? If you're not losing, like we talked about, if you're not losing weight on, I was chatting to a client just before about this. He's like, I've never like on 2,000 calories. I feel like I always gain weight. I'm like, cool. Well, when we get to the point where, he's pretty close to abs now, it's like, when we get to the point where you're happy, we're going to bump up the calories a little bit, not a crazy amount. And then we're going to track our weight and we're going to see what happens. Because if you know how much you're eating and you see the trend of your weight, you will know what your maintenance is, right? If you eat 2,000 calories, you're going to gain. It's very similar to when you first drop your calories. You're going to lose a bit of glycogen. You're going to lose a bit of water weight. When you start to up your calories again, you're going to gain a little bit of glycogen, gain a little bit of water weight. But then it's in that second week. Do you maintain? Do you go higher? Do you still go a bit lower? Do you not even gain in the first week? Then it's like, cool, I've got more room to grow. And we keep inching that up until we hit a point where we aren't, we're not gaining, we're not losing, we're plateauing, we're having a nice amount of calories. Because the plan to maintain abs is different to the plan to get them, right? So, and we'll talk about sort of the maintenance plan, because it's a lot easier than it is to get them. Like, getting them does require a little bit of effort and work, especially if you're like myself. I didn't have the most amount of muscle mass when I got them, so I had to get quite lean and skinny almost to see them. I had a bit of muscle mass, but it wasn't enough to make getting abs a very like an easy process. It took me. I got a little bit grumpy the first time around. The second time around, a bit more muscle mass. It was a little bit easier, but you're going to have that process of sort of bulking, gaining muscle mass, shredding down, and each time is going to be easier and easier and easier. But once you've got that calorie deficit in place, it's a mathematical game. You hit your numbers, you get the result. You don't hit the numbers, make some changes. But the second aspect of it, right, we talked about protein, is making sure you're getting a sufficient weight training stimulus in. And for a lot of people, when you're just getting started, you're going to be lifting weights, you're going to be in the gym. If you've never lifted weights before, you're going to be doing what we call a bit of a recomposition, where you're going to be gaining a bit of muscle, losing a bit of fat, because the stimulus that you're getting from training is so novel, it's so new, your body's never really experienced it before. And as a result, it will sort of overcompensate and grow, regardless of if you're, giving it enough calories to or not, because it purely needs to, oh shit, you're lifting 12 kilos, 15 kilos. Fuck, I've got to compensate for this. I've got to get ready for it. What if you're experienced and you've been weight training for a little bit, you're probably not going to get that recomposition effect, but you are going to get infinitely better results in terms of your muscle mass maintenance and a lack of muscle mass loss if you incorporate weight training as well as high protein. So those are the three keys: calorie deficit, weight training, and a high protein diet. If you combine those three for, as Trav said, a long enough period of time, you'll get a result. You'll get abs. Right? You just need to keep adjusting and breaking through plateaus as we go. But when it comes to the weight training side of things, you want to make sure you don't want to train any differently to muscle growth than you do for fat loss, right? Because you want your fat loss weight training program to be as anabolic as possible, right? You want to train as if you're trying to grow muscle. You even want to every now and then try and aim for that extra rep, that extra little bit of weight. And for a couple of weeks, especially in the initial stages, you will add strength. You will probably add a little bit of muscle mass as you're in that very early deficit phase. As it gets longer and longer, the goal is just to maintain as best you can. You want to try and get the same reps out each week. If you can get the same reps at the same weight of a bench press or a squat or a deadlift or whatever, then you're going to be, cool, I'm at least maintaining muscle mass, right? Because my strength is the same and I'm losing body fat. So fucking win-win.
Exactly, mate. I think when we look at it, for people who have had a long time off the gym, which is some dads out there, or actually a lot of dads that come into us have either had like a bit of time off because they just lost their way in the flux of having children with their health being a priority, or people who've never been to a gym and they're like, oh, you know what, I need to do something about this. You can gain up to about 4 kilos of lean muscle mass in the first 12 weeks of training. That's like that amazing time. It's like, and that's a lot of muscle mass.
Enjoy it because it gets a lot slower.
Yeah, exactly. But also it's understanding this. If you're just starting, then you should do this correctly because you only get this time once, right?
That is so true. Don't fuck up. This is a phase. It's called newbie gains, right?
Exactly.
What it's known as. If you do it right, you can maximize the shit out of it, and you can get some really good results with real minimal work. Like you don't have to. But if you spend your first 12 weeks doing bicep curls and piss fighting around in the gym, and your body gets used to that stimulus, you don't get the best results.
Exactly. Or if you hit and miss and all the rest of it, your body won't you're not going to get that level of muscle mass that you can. That's your potential. And in the first year, everyone's has different genetics as far as how much muscle mass they can put on. But if you're back into it and you're new into the gym, you can put up to about 8 kilos on in that first year, which is a lot of lean muscle mass. And then it keeps diminishing after that. But it's like that first year, you've got such a high potential of creating an athletic physique that you want to capitalize that on as much as possible. Now, inside that, there's so many different ways to train, right? There just is, guys. And I'm not out here trying to fight the YouTubers on the best way to train. We have so many of our guys get abs and get absolutely shredded when we're looking at different ways of periodization. But when we look at it, we want to try and make sure that we're lifting. This is the biggest thing that I tell most guys. If you take anything away from this, it's just don't lift like a fucking pussy, right? Like honestly, like that. Like if you're lifting the weights and you're just doing it to pass the time, like get the fuck out the gym and go shopping with your missus, right? Like because you're going to the gym, and if you're lifting the weight, like lift with intent. Like pick up the dumbbell. If you're doing a chest press, focus on lifting with your chest, focus on pushing with your tricep, get your mind in the muscle and lift until you have 1 to 2 reps from failure. If your program says 10 to 12 reps, okay, and you're doing 10 to 12 reps and you get to the 12th rep and you go, well, I still got about 6-7 reps in the tank, as in like you can still keep going. Your fucking pet can't count, right? Like your muscles don't count reps, guys. So like just keep going for another 5 reps and go, well, I didn't lift a weight heavy enough. Next set, pick a heavier weight that's more adequate to your rep range that you're actually going to push the 10 to 12 reps. And that's why I really like rep ranges, rather than specific rep targets. And if we go like 10 to 12 reps, then you're lifting it and you might hit 10 reps or you might hit 12 reps. It is what it is. But you can lift a weight, say this week, that's 1 rep from failure. So say it's a 10 to 12 rep range. We're going to program over 4 weeks. Then week 1, we want to lift a chest press, and let's just say we're lifting that chest press. We do it for 10 reps, and you know that might just be able to squeeze 1 more out. You pop them down. That is 1 rep from failure before you try to press it up and you actually drop the dumbbells on your face, right? So you're 1 rep from failure. Next week, with a progressive overload, do the same weight for 11 reps. The next week, do the same weight for 12 reps. And then you're creating a progressive overload within this rep range. And the 4th week of the program, go back to the 10 reps, lift a heavier weight. And that's literally how you do it. And you could even follow this for 6 weeks, 10, 11, 12, back to 10 with a heavier weight, 11, 12. There you go. That's all we have to do. Stay 1 to 2 reps from failure. You've created progressive overload. And if you do just that, 3 to 4 sets, okay, for like we pick 3 exercises for chest and you're looking at say something like 12 sets, 12 working sets, 1 rep from failure on our chest per week. That's all we really need. The same as our back, same as our biceps, same as our triceps, same as our quads, same as our hamstrings. And for those who love calves, I just like for every reason, I've always had big calves, but those people want to train calves, same as your calves.
Shit. I can't believe it. I don't prioritize them.
That's okay. But if you're thinking about it, like, so right, I just wear jeans. So if you're thinking about it, if you're looking at creating a program and we know that I need, essentially 9 to 12 working sets on my chest in a program, and I'm doing, let's just say bro split, right? I'm going to do chest and biceps. Okay. You got 9 to 12 chest exercise and 9 to 12 bicep exercise sets. Okay. So 3 exercises, 3 to 4 sets per exercise. You're picking 3 exercises for that. And then the next day you got back and biceps. Okay. Again, you got about 24 sets in the training session. Have a day break, go for a walk. The next day, you're going to do quads, right? So you're going to do maybe doing like squats, leg presses, and leg extensions, and you're going to do shoulders. You got some shoulder press, some lateral raises, you got some face pulls. And then the last day, we're going to do some glutes, right? So we're going to train our butt because every female likes a butt. Right, so you're going to train your butt. You're going to do some hip thrusts.
You'll help your lower back pain as well. I know 90% of you guys out there have definitely got back pain. Train your glutes. Don't ignore that shit.
I know, because guys feel like it's awkward thrusting in a gym. Hey, guys, it's okay.
Mine's good because it's a machine. It faces the wall. But I put my progressive overload at the moment is I got 160 kilos on there, and I'm doing that for about 8 to 10 reps at the moment. So yeah, and if you think, oh, that's gay, putting from where you're thrusting away and looking at it, no. You put 160 kilos on your lap and thrust that up. I don't think anyone's looking at you with anything except for, fuck that dude's
good work.
Glutes.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got bruises on my hips from the strap that I have to wear to get it on. It's one, and it helps your lower back as well. So don't ignore your glutes and your hammies. Strengthen those areas because they'll make they'll stop you from hobbling around like an old man.
Exactly, guys. So, hamstring curls, hip thrusts, like back extensions. So we've trained that whole posterior chain and like we'll do whatever and your calves, right? And that's the other day. So that's a literal split you can do. 24 sets per, 3 exercises per like muscle group, 3 to 4 sets of working sets, not light sets, working sets per exercise. And that's your training program, guys. That is a plan you could follow. Very simple. If you're training at home, you can do it with dumbbells, right? Very easy. You don't have to do it like that. You can also do it just with EMOMs and AMRAPs, which is like but you're looking at burning some more calories, going to not put as much muscle mass on. Okay. So the muscle mass would vary, but you can put lean muscle mass on when we're talking about getting abs, anywhere between 6 to 35 reps, right? So, but you just have to be training within that 2 reps from failure. So when we're training at home and we're doing like, squat to presses and we're doing like, floor presses and chest presses and we're doing rows, it means you just might have to, because you don't have the adequate apparatuses to complete your workouts, that what we have to do is maybe full body training every day. maybe 3 to 4 times a week, and you're punching out the reps. If you don't have weight that's heavy enough, you have to go up to 30 to 35 reps. And trust me, like 35 reps of like 20-kilo dumbbell lunges, I don't care how you are, you probably get close-ish to failure. Like we can definitely get you to failure, even with a set of dumbbells, to pack on lean muscle mass to get those abs. So it doesn't matter if you're looking at, but the only other thing is you will hit a line with body weight training, right? I just believe you will, as far as, and I'm not talking about calisthenics and things like that, guys. I'm like talking about dad-based body weight training, and I'm not putting limitations against you, anyone out there. It's just like, I'm not a calisthenics guy. It's just not my forte, and I don't think it's Jace's forte either.
No, I don't want to go to the playground and like, yeah. To be fair, most calisthenics guys do still need some kind of like to get optimal workout. They need an apparatus. They need something to, at least, because most of it is based around doing the pull-ups, and you've got to have a very high level already of yes, you can get better at pull-ups over time, but these guys doing like fucking muscle ups and twists and ab raises and all that sort of shit. It's like, for most, if you're going to the point where you want to achieve abs, you probably won't be using that as a method to get there, because a lot of those guys already have abs, and they have because they have abs, it allows them to do that stuff because they're not carrying as much body fat. So yeah, when you're doing at home push-ups, sit-ups, burpees, lunges, squats, that kind of stuff, there's a limit to what you can do, because there's going to come a point where you're doing 50 plus squats before you're close to failure, and you're not going to get just as much of a stimulus.
So I think that's the biggest thing we're looking at. It's like, as you increase in strength, you need to increase in the equipment that you have to continue to put the stimulus against the muscles that are required to gain lean muscle mass to get abs, right? A calisthenics person might start with push-ups, sit-ups, and air squats, right? They could. But over time, they're going to need pull-ups and bars and dip bars and all the rest of it, continue to increase that lean muscle mass, and also get their back working, because otherwise they're limited as far as just more pushing-based movements. So when we look at it, we were talking the other day, it's like you can start with body weight and a TRX, like a suspension trainer, and that will get you started for a lot of people for the first 28 days on the road to abs. Add in a bench and some dumbbells. That would be the next thing I would say at home. Like a pair of dumbbells and an adjustable bench, it's like $300 for both of them. The adjustable dumbbells go up to 24 kilos, and that's the next thing. All of that together, all you need to get abs, right? That's it. You want to join a gym, you join a gym. But I think we covered the programming for us now. We want to make sure we're lifting to failure. We've got essentially three exercises per muscle group, with about 12 working sets per week is the minimal viable threshold that we want to try and hit to gain that lean muscle mass. And then we have to look at being consistent. Right? That's the biggest thing, consistency. After that is our NEAT activity. We did briefly touch about that on as well. I just know the time of this podcast is going already 52 minutes. So we'll continue to move through it. Like, as you go along the track to getting abs, your NEAT activity, like your fidgeting and your daily movement, your subconscious NEAT activity actually winds down. Okay. You start to burn less calories at rest. And that's everyone does this. It's not you. It's just, that's what humans do. It's like a survival mechanism of not getting to low enough body fat. So our body starts to turn down our metabolism. So we consciously then, as we're en route to getting abs, consciously do more steps. So the first 6 weeks, maybe doing 8,000 steps. Then, you've lost some weight. You've lost 5, 10, 8 kilos. Then we go 10,000 steps a day. Okay, for the next 6 weeks. And then we're like, okay, cool. Now we've lost another 5, 8 kilos. And then we're close to getting abs. Okay, 12,000 or 14,000 steps a day. We know this is for a finite period of time to lose the last bit of body fat, because we're up-regulating our steps so our metabolism stays high enough whilst it's actually trying to down-regulate. I think that's a big thing for us to do, is understanding conscious activity for our NEAT activity whilst the body's trying to downturn its metabolism. That's another key factor that people don't actually add in, which then prolongs their ability to not achieve abs.
Yeah, 100%. I think that progressive pathway of slowly increasing, because, and this is the reason why a lot of people think, oh, my metabolism is down-regulated as I've gone on this diet. Like, I've ruined my diet with this plan. No, you just ate so little calories that you were so lethargic that you couldn't be fucked doing anything. Right? You couldn't be bothered. And so I highly recommend, if you can, as much as we all like to get abs for the summer, it's a lot harder to get them if you're at the sort of the peak stage of it. I got my abs in August. So the last 2 months of it were fucking cold, rainy, but still went out for walks. Rain jacket, went out for walks, had to get the steps in, had to get the movement in. Otherwise, it just wouldn't happen. So you've got to have a plan for it. You've got to have an intent to move that much, because your body will naturally tell you, hey, you're not eating enough. You need, like, it is controlled starvation. That's what it is. So if you go in anticipating that that's what it's going to be, that you are going to feel hungry, that is the point. You're not going to be able to fill up completely on watermelon and lettuce. Right? Some guys might be able to, but you're probably going to feel like shit. There are just going to be those times. There's going to be times where you have low energy, but if you have a step target, it mandates that you're getting a minimum amount in. It is a variable that you can control. It is a variable that you can measure and you can change. And a lot of guys will go probably usually too hard when they first start. When they don't progress for a week, they'll drop their calories and they'll increase their steps and they'll add a cardio session. The thing is, you want to start progressing on the minimal that you can, because it's a long path. It's a long road, and you've got to be able to make adjustment, not throw everything at it all at once. If you make a small adjustment each week, or a small adjustment every time there's a plateau, then you'll be able to string that progress out for a lot longer, because your body does adapt. So if you throw everything at it all at once, like I said, a cardio session, drop calories by 100 to 150, and also start increasing your steps by 1,000 a day. If you do all of that all at once, that's a lot. And your body will, it's still a bigger deficit. Though over 3 or 4 weeks, it'll eventually adapt to the new level of activity you're giving it, and then you'll plateau again, because you just will. And then it's like, well, fuck, I've got no more aces to play. I've thrown the kitchen sink at it too early. So this is the art of breaking the plateau, is slowly but surely. Every time there's a plateau, usually it's not 1 week, it'll go for about 2 weeks, right? If you have 1 week where you're stagnant, it's like, all right, we'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep everything going. And then oftentimes the next week will be there. To break through that plateau, if you've gone for 2 weeks without losing a meaningful amount of body weight, or measurements, if you're at that stage as well, if you're doing like sort of tape measuring around your belly button is always a really good one. If your belly button measurements coming in, you're getting closer to abs. It's just one of the really easiest ways to tell, especially once you're in the real sort of nitty gritty end where it's a couple 100 grams a week. If you're not making that progress, then choose one. Either, am I hungry? Like, oh, not really. Cool. We could probably get away with dropping some calories. Do I feel like I could get an extra 10 minutes of walking in a day? Yeah, probably. We'll go on that one. Do I have time in the week for 1 half an hour cardio session, either on the treadmill or on the bike or something? Yep. You know what? Cool. Those are the sort of the 3 variables that I like to play with when it comes to just that extra increase of expenditure or decrease of intake. And that's what's going to bust you through your plateau. It's got to be enough to get it moving, but not so much that you've got no more cards left to play.
Exactly, mate. I think it's also doing that one variable at a time, so you know what variable is working.
Yeah.
So if you try and do like 7 at once, you're like, what worked? I have no idea. So now I have to do them all.
Yeah.
So
exponentially, just by week 6, you're fucked.
Yeah, completely fucked. And I think this is the true tortoise and the hare story. Everyone knows it. This is truly the story where the tortoise wins. Because if you're trying to shred your fat to get abs in 5 weeks, like, it's not going to happen. The man shakes ain't going to get you abs, right? But consistent training with a progressive overload, consistent steps with a progressive overload with our steps, with consistently decreasing our calories over time and maintaining that calorie deficit will get you abs. I think at the start of your journey, weight matters most when I'm coaching my guys. So like, weight matters most at the start to get there. It's the easiest measure to make sure we're losing weight. And then when they're getting lean enough, I really look at the measurements. So for a larger guy, abs happen. For like a larger framed guy, abs happen somewhere between, sort of 86 to 90 centimeters on a midsection. Right. And this is, again, this is vague. So it gives, if you're like a 6 foot to 6'4" guy, you're normally like a bit of a larger frame. So it's like 86 to 90, 92 centimeters is where your sort of midsection is going to be tight. If you're a smaller guy, then you're going to be somewhere around that sort of 78 to 82 centimeters. I think you're around the 80 or 78 centimeters, Jace.
Yeah, I'm relative. I'm like 6'1", but I've got a relatively slim frame.
Small frame, yeah.
Yeah, I've got like small girlish wrists, right? I'm training them. Don't worry. But yeah, I'm a relatively slim frame. It's just I'm not very heavy for my height, but I don't look, I don't look anemic, right? It's just the way that my weight's carried. So you can't go by every single
metric.
measurement. But yeah, for me, it was around that sort of high 70s range, I believe.
Yeah. So, like, if you look at it, I try and give my guys somewhat ballparks as well. So, because I think if people have an idea, they're like, okay, I know I'm working towards that. Sometimes I'm off, but it's like you can see someone's frame and then you can give them a estimation because we work off numbers. So, if you're like 103 centimeters and I can see them, I'm like, well, about 88 centimeters, you're going to have your midsection is going to stop coming in, and that at that point we don't look at weight anymore. We don't look at measurements anymore. We literally look at the ab changes on the weekly basis. So every week I'll look at it. I was like, okay, cool. Yes, I can see a bit more of a definition here. So it's like, it's why we must measure weight, weekly averages, while we must measure our midsection as far as circumference coming in, and why we do photos as well, because each of those key metrics matter at a specific time in a transformation process, and we weight them more as far as what we focus on, as far as are we still progressing. And then all it is, it's like your midsection stop moving. Am I still getting there? It was like, well, we can visually see based on fortnightly photos. And I tend to look at fortnightly photos most because that's what's going to hold a great visual representation. And is their weight marginally coming down and losing body fat? Now, that's essentially all it is. And there's consistency. Like, you have to grind. Like, you might, oh, my calories are a bit low. It's like, well, you want to get abs and you have to grind to get them. I think that's the key thing as well. Yeah. So, and it's being okay with that. And then you can make sure we go into more of a reverse dieting process, because keeping abs is not as hard as getting them. We can get your metabolism up to running at a higher amount whilst holding our abs. I think that's the biggest thing. It's the diet after the diet that actually is the most important part. And this is why you keep abs for the rest of your life rather than lose weight, gain it back, and constantly in this yo-yo cycle, which most people actually go through, because they're going through quick fixes to achieve a result without education and habit formation. But when we go into it as far as the tortoise, and we go through as far as habitual change and behavioral change, as who you become on that journey, that means we can do the diet after the diet, which lifts your metabolism, and you can eating like 2,800 calories, depends on your size, and holding the abs for the rest of your life, and you never have to diet again. And that's the key thing.
Yeah, it's like, for example, the first time I got abs, it was a big celebration. I did a photo shoot that night. I cooked a tomahawk and some basically like deep fried smashed potatoes. It was fucking amazing. But then after that, because I'd been on such a long journey, I had no motivation to necessarily stay in that. I was like, I'm just exhausted. I want to take a break from the gym, which was all good. But then I had no plan to get back into it. And then, we had some work changes. I think it was still in the middle of like COVID and stuff like that as well. And I just wasn't that motivated to get back into the gym. Ended up blowing out again, probably, I think. And then and that's when I ended up starting with Trav. Was like, I blew out to I think it was like 88 kilos. I got to 73, blew up to about sort of 88 kilos or so over the course of like 6 months. Yep. To put that in context, I then ended up getting abs when I got married, which was January last year, and then maintained relatively well. I think I went to go on a bit of a bulk, was kind of hit and miss with stuff. I maintained relatively well. I had a couple of sicknesses. I got COVID, I got flu, whatever. Maintained around sort of that 77, 78 mark. Didn't really change that much. And then got shredded again just before my daughter was born in October last year. And I was like, all right, as of next year, I want to go on a meaningful bulk. So then I as of February, I've gained I'm 82 now. So from I think I started about 76 or 77. So I've gained about 4 to 5 kilos over the course of 4 months. And that's been a pretty good pace for me because I had a plan. This is essentially I'm doing a reverse diet and trying to bulk as well.
But I think the same thing for yourself, dude. Like I think the biggest thing is you've maintained a relatively lean physique, and we were talking about this the other day. For yourself, it's like another 2 kilos over the next sort of like 2 to 3 months, like 3 months probably with your time frame. And then if Jay's dieted literally for 4 weeks, he'd have abs again. Yeah. But he's also put on like 5 kilos of lean muscle mass this year from a focused, dedicated bulk. But he's put on minimal fat gain because he's been a slight calorie surplus whilst doing that, with focus on a great progressive overload and actually training close to failure, which makes you want to train. It's hard.
It is hard training. You got to have the mindset for it. It's fucked.
Yeah. And that means, if you are trying to put on muscle mass, it doesn't mean you have to get fat. You can put on minimal fat mass. So then, say you're coming into summer and you want to get the abs back out because you just want to be a bit more toned and tight and athletic, then it's like, okay, cool. October, I can literally just diet for 4 weeks and it's like bang.
Yeah.
And same as me, it's like whenever I want to get a little bit tighter, it's like 21 days. It's like, okay, cool, I'm tight again. And I think it's being able to hold yourself at a relatively lean period year round. So then if you want to get leaner, you can, but that only happens if you have if you've reverse dieted correctly to have your metabolism running efficiently so you can diet back down.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's just being within touching distance of that, I think, is a really good one. And that's the difference between, because a lot of people will hire a coach or do a program to get abs. And it's like, that's all well and good, but have something afterwards to look forward to. Like the most successful people who do, bodybuilding competitions, and that's the extreme level of getting lean, right? That's medically not healthy levels of leanness. The people who are most successful have a plan. They don't just go fucking YOLO immediately because they've got shredded. They can do whatever they want. That's not how it works. You've got to have a bit of a plan. You've got to have what I've been calling for a lot of my guys is some coached maintenance, like coached back up to maintenance, consistent, still tracking, so you know what maintenance actually looks like with your food, because you can't just go back to eating what you were eating when you're 120 kilos, because then you just fucking get back there. There is but you also don't have to keep eating the 1700 calories you might be on at the very end of your diet. There's an in between, and you slowly increase. You find out what that is. You find the upper end of where your metabolism sits, as far as you can't just keep reverse dieting forever, infinitely. Otherwise, you'd be on 7,000 calories a day. Fucking, it would be a pain in the ass. But you find where your upper limit is, and you then figure out, well, what does this look like on a day-to-day basis for food? And then you're like, cool, I can live and look like this. Right. And every now and then there might be a couple of events, or I might go on a holiday or whatever. And then, I know what to eat to get back to this place, because it's and
simple.
then it becomes your life. The last point I want to make before we wrap up as well is one of the things when you are getting down there is to optimize your sleep and stress. That is if you are down the low end, you are going to probably be sleeping a little bit worse. Some people sleep better because they just pass the fuck out. But optimizing your sleep and making sure you are getting adequate recovery is so important, because you're depriving your body of nutrients, of energy when you're in the gym, you're weight training. If you're not sleeping well as well and your stress is high, those are also things to look at if you are plateauing, to be like, well, maybe it's a very stressful period of time at work. All right, you see that it's in a couple of weeks' time it's easing off. All right, you just got to ride out this wave. You got to make sure that your stress doesn't get out of control. You introduce some mindfulness and meditation and that kind of stuff.
And I also think it's like psychologically, if you go, rather than screwing yourself on the way to abs, having a maintenance period for 2 to 4 weeks in there is also part of a plan. Yeah. I'm going through a stressful period at work over the next sort of month, maybe end of financial year. I'm going to go up to maintenance for my nutrition. So I'm going to increase my calories by like 500. I know the next month I'm not going to be gaining or losing weight, but I'm going to be giving myself enough calories. So then I know that, I've got like 5 kilos to go on I know that July 1st, I can go an aggressive deficit, focus for 6 weeks, and just go in sprints. I find some people going in diet sprints works really well. Periods of maintenance and diet sprints works well for them because there's an end point. We lose as much weight as we can in 6 weeks. Go to maintenance, eat more food, enjoy life. Diet sprint starts again, because there's start and finishes to their diet, and they're still educating themselves on the process as well. So there's no one size that fits all. There's never is. Everyone's different. And I think that's the beauty of coaching and why we do coaching, guys. So if you want coaching, go to fit-dad.club. That was a nice segue. And we can look at where you are, where you want to go, and how to close the gap in between the two. So that's fit-dad.club. If you want to rate, review, leave a comment on YouTube, podcasts, anywhere you want to do. You want to wish me a happy birthday, you can do that as well, guys. And have a great day, and we'll be back next week. If you want to give us some topics you want us to talk on, happy to understand what they are as well.
Yeah, well, as of today, Monday, actually, we will have opened up our wait list for a new program we're launching, which is essentially it is the Fit Dad Club, the group, right, where we're going to have some bigger, more educational based group coaching where you still get nutritional plan, you still get a training program, you still get support from the team, but it's more of a community focused, community driven thing. It's a hell of a lot cheaper than just one-on-one coaching. We're opening up it's 14 days for $1, right?
That's it. 14 days for $1.
$14
and We're only opening this up to 50 people, guys, because we want to make sure the experience is great and making sure that all the nutrition, because we're still getting individual calories, all the rest of it. So we make sure the experience is seamless for those 50 people. We're going to take on 50 people each month. So with this, like it's going to open and it's going to close pretty much within 24 hours because it's going out to our email list, going out on our socials, and those 50 and the people who couldn't afford the higher end coaching. So it's going to go and it's going to be gone. Yep. So if you want to do it, find the link wherever you need to find it, email us or just message Jace. And
I'll put it in the podcast if we have it by then. If not, send us a message because this will be dropping the morning that wait list opens. So we may not have everything right as it opens, but send us a message, DM us on Instagram or either one of us or on probably me. Yep. I'm a little bit more responsive to those things. Always on my phone. But yeah, this is if you want a taste of what coaching with us is like, or if you're someone who's like, look, I don't need a full-on one-on-one coach. I just want some guidance. I just want someone to give me something to do so I can get focused. And you want to join a community of dads who are actually driven, because there are a lot of, we've got a free community. There are a lot of free communities. The thing about free communities is, you often get what you pay for in terms of the commitment level of your peer group. And there'll be some people that'll be smashing it. Like there are some people who listen to this podcast and get amazing results. And there'll be some people who don't do anything with it. But this group is a focused, committed group of dads who are there to help each other, to lift each other up. There's a bunch of education already in the group ready for you to go through to understand yourself better, understand nutrition and training better so that you can get these results and keep them for life.
Exactly, guys. And like I said, this is dropping on Monday, and by Tuesday, it's going to be closed because the spots will be gone. So you actually have to act fast on this because it's a ridiculous offer.
$1.
$1. All right, guys. So act that, find it, search, be like you're on a mission. Be Liam Neeson. You will special set of skills. You'll find the link, hunt the link,
I will Google
and chase
it.
the link down.
And I will join.
Exactly. All right, guys. Until next week, and peace out from us. See you later.